Hey guys, welcome to another episode on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the S2 version 13.0. Incidentally, the S2 13.0 version was announced and in fact launched on the day when the Sonos Roam, the new Sonos portable speaker, was announced on the 9th of March. So if you want to hear about what this is all about, stay on and I'll get to you in a while. So for those of you who are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I don't like to drag you through the whole video and I'll give you the upfront summary right in front of the video. So if you don't have time, you can just go away after reading this summary or listening to me drag you through this very quick summary. So over to you. Okay, so in this update, the most important thing that they have actually tried to come up with is to actually build in the support for the Sonos Roam. So the Sonos Roam is an upcoming speaker, which is going to be launched sometime, well, it's already been launched, but it will be shipping towards the end last week of April. The next thing is that it allows you to change Wi-Fi. So apparently, if you change the router or if you change the password on your Wi-Fi, it is not so straightforward in the previous release. And a very important one for me is that it now displays the audio format that is playing when you are on the Sonos S2 now playing screen, which is very important. You used to have to go into the system and you'll click about system and to be fair, and then you have to scroll through the whole about system just to check what kind of a format is going to be playing in. And apparently the fourth feature that they have updated here is actually the WPA3 support. So for most of us, we're not going to be very worried about that. WPA3 is a Wi-Fi encryption standard which they have just implemented. So it's supposed to make your whole network a little bit more secure. If you implement WPA3 on your network, then this will help. But then again, you have to bear in mind that if you have older Sonos devices that are not supporting WPA3, then you still can't use them on your network, even if you change it to WPA3. And the very, very important thing that I think they have kind of like moved it away and kept it out of sight so that people don't make such a big fuss about is the whole iOS support and the Android support. So the latest version of 13.0 will require Android 8.0 or iOS 12 or later before it will work. So in the previous 12.x release, you are going to be able to use Android 7.0 or iOS 11. Now, if you are still running those devices that are still running those OS, then you won't be able to use the Sonos S2 app. So very quickly, that's a summary. Now, if you've got some time to spare, then I'd like to take you through the rest of the whole presentation so that you can see for yourself what kind of changes there are actually in detail. So before we go into each of these points, I'd just like to share a little bit with you. I think in June of 2020, they announced the Sonos 5, they announced the Sonos Arc, they also announced the Sonos Sub Gen 3. And with that, they came up with the Sonos S2 12.0 platform. So if you look at 12.0, it was actually announced on the 8th of June actually. So if you look at 12.0, it was released on the 8th of June a year ago in 2020. Now there hasn't really been a lot of new hardware since, and now we are at 13.0. 13.0, 9th of March is when they announced the Sonos Roam. So if you look at the first point here, the most important is to add the software support for the Sonos Roam. The screen that I have up here, it says 13.0, but the current version is actually at 13.0.2. I did not get into doing a video for version 13.0 in time, but I noticed something, which I'll talk about in a bit. But with 13.0.2, they kind of like took away the feature a little bit. I'll explain in about 2 or 3 points later. Okay, so the first very important point, this is the Sonos Roam speaker. The Sonos Roam is a portable Bluetooth capable speaker. It is also battery powered, very, very small, less than about 6 inches. I chose this photo so that you can take a look and see how small, how compact that is. And actually the price for this speaker is $169 US. That makes it the cheapest Sonos speaker to date. Except that you won't be able to use it as rear surround speakers if you want to set it up and pair up with your Sonos Arc. So no go for that. It is purely a music capable speaker. So with S2 version 13, they have added the support for the Sonos Roam. Nothing much about that. I've done an extensive preview video. So if you are interested in that, do check out this link above and you can take a look at everything that I have uncovered after I've attended the press release for the Sonos Roam. So this Sonos Roam support is not going to affect those of you who are not planning to buy the Sonos Roam, but if you want to use the Sonos Roam, then you have to update your S2 to 13.0. The next point. Now, this is talking about the process of updating Sonos Wi-Fi. Now, to be honest with you, I don't actually change my Wi-Fi password a lot. Well, I'm not sharing with you. And I don't actually change my router a lot either. Even if I do, I actually keep the SSID, which is the network name, the same, so that I don't have to fiddle around with all the other IoT devices and all the other Sonos speakers or any other connected devices to the Wi-Fi that much. So I don't actually know what was the problem with changing Wi-Fi, but apparently the process is going to be made a lot easier with 13.0. So I suspect this point actually doesn't affect a lot of people at all, unless you are in the habit of changing your Wi-Fi password all the time or changing new routers all the time. So let's get to the next point. This next point here, okay? When playing TV audio, the Sonos app now shows the current audio format on the now playing screen. This is a big one. So I've done some screenshots. So if you take a look at the screenshots there, in this one, you'll see that I actually have a Dolby Digital Plus 5.1 showing up here. So it's not playing Atmos content. I don't have to actually go into about my system before I can find out exactly what format is playing. In the next screen here, you will see that it displays Dolby Atmos. Well, previously it has displayed Dolby Atmos as well, but this is just a little bit clearer. It lends some clarity to the other formats other than Dolby Atmos. I have a video here. I'm going to just play it so you can see all the different formats that are showing up when they're besides this Dolby Atmos label. So here you have the stereo PCM. So you're connected to your TV, you're connected to your Shield or your Apple TV. When you're navigating in the menu buttons where you hear the click, 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 that is when it is stereo PCM. The next one is Dolby Multi-Channel PCM 5.1. So if you're connected to the Xbox or if you're connected via some unsupported, something that doesn't play Dolby, but it does send out multi-channel PCM, then that is what is going to show. But what I noticed in 13.0.2 is that there is a slight difference. When it was at 13.0, there was a specific function, and I'm going to have to show it to you in the next video, in the next slide, okay? In About System, right? If you click through, and if you look under my Sonos Arc, you'll see that there is a Dolby Digital Plus 5.1. So, you can see it in the earlier screen, which is all right. You can see it here. That's fair. But take a look at this. This is Dolby Atmos. Okay. When you go inside About My System, Dolby Atmos here shows DD+, Dolby Digital Plus. This Dolby Digital Plus Atmos format is actually lossy format. So if you are streaming or if you are playing from a non-eARC capable TV, then that is what you're going to be seeing. You will see Dolby Digital Plus. Okay. Now, previously in version 13.0, before the 13.0.2, I could actually see through HD. All right, so there is a distinction if you are playing via eARC and if you have a full bandwidth player and you're not streaming, say for example a Blu-ray player, or if you're running Kodi and you have a fully encoded lossless Atmos soundtrack, then you'll be able to see Dolby Atmos through HD. Today, with version 13.0.2, there's no such distinction anymore. So if you were to go back to the previous screen, what you could have seen here, it was DD Plus in brackets or True HD in bracket. I can't really recall whether I saw it on this now playing screen or not, but it was definitely in the About system. I don't have the screenshot anymore, unfortunately. I'm not rolling back all my stuff to 13.0 just to find that screenshot. So just take it from me. I think in version 13.0.2, they have taken the resolution away, so you won't be able to see what kind of Atmos soundtrack is playing, whether it's lossy or lossless. I wish they kept that though. Why did they take it out? I have no idea. And even if you went into About My System now, you'll just see Dolby Atmos. There's no distinction between Dolby Digital Plus or True HD. So the next one is that they have added WPA3 security support for Move, Roam, the Sonos 1 Gen 2, 1SL 5 port, and the Sub Gen 3. All the newer speakers that were released within the last 2, maybe 3 years. Actually, only the Sonos 1SL and the Gen 2 Sonos 1 is probably the oldest one on that list here. Now, so that hardware, which needs to be probably post 2019, would have carried the necessary certification for WPA3. So they have just turned it on. Now, this is probably related to the feature of them updating the Sonos Wi-Fi information so that it's easier to reconnect the whole Sonos system to your Wi-Fi if you change password. Because if you adopt WPA3 security support, most likely you are going to be changing the password because the password length support is different. So these two are probably related points. This basically WPA3 support and the ease of now changing Wi-Fi information. Like I said, together with that point, I don't think this affects a lot of people. So you don't actually have to update. But as with a lot of Sonos updates, you just turn it on and you just keep updating. It likely won't break the system. And you're supposed to get extra functionality. Like when they released S2 12.2.2, it actually allowed for dual sub support. And in an instance, you will definitely be upgrading to that version if you wanted dual sub support in your whole setup, which I've done. Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is not so much a feature that they have listed as one of the 4 points in their update list. So, this one. If you look at the system requirements now, the Sonos app is not going to be supported on iOS 11 and earlier and Android 7 and earlier. So as of version 12.xx, okay, they were still supporting iOS 11 as well as the Android 7.0. Okay, so the Android 7.0 is actually the Oreo. I take issues with how Android is naming their versions of the releases, with Oreo, Kit Kat, Nougat, Jelly Bean, so many of these, so confusing, so hard to remember. To most people, they won't be able to tell, is Nougat newer, or is Jelly Bean newer, or is Kit Kat newer, or is Oreo newer. But let me tell you, how they named it is actually in alphabetical order. So A, B, C, D, E. If you look at Jelly Bean, J, and Oreo, O, then you'll know that J is earlier released than Oreo. Yeah, and that's how it works. They name it alphabetically. I think one day they're definitely going to run out of the alphabet. Then I wonder what's next. And it is hard, right? Jelly Bean and Oreo, how many versions apart are they? I don't know. Why don't you do the iOS way? iOS 11, iOS 12, iOS 13. Which one is newer? 12, 13. It's so easy to figure out. Don't need to be fanciful when you don't have to. But again, Android is more fun. iOS is, standardized experience across devices. Both has its pros and cons. Oh, but I digress. Today, that's not what we're going to be talking about. But more importantly, if you wanted to do TruePlay on an iOS device, the oldest device you can do it today is actually the iPhone 5S. Now, the iPhone 5S was launched in 2013, so it's a good 8 years now. And if you're still holding on to the iPhone 5S, then you can still do your TruePlay, but iPhone 5 and earlier are no longer going to be supported. But then again, if you're holding the iPhone 5S and you're still going to be doing TruePlay, check the microphone holes. I think there could be so much dirt and dust and lint that is going to affect your TruePlay capabilities already. The most important, I suspect, is actually going to be affecting more people than most of the other updates is the system requirement changes. Otherwise, unless you're getting a Sonos Roam, unless you're in a habit of changing your Wi-Fi passwords all the time, then it probably wouldn't affect you much. To me, the biggest feature of this update is actually displaying the format of the sound that is actually currently playing in the now playing screen. That I like. But please, Sonos, if you could bring back more details. I want to know if it is lossless Atmos playing or if it is lossy Atmos playing. At the least, put back the DD Plus or the True HD in bracket. And that will save me a lot of troubleshooting. And I'm sure a lot of users out there don't mind a little bit more details. And if they don't know what it is, then so be it. But it shouldn't be confusing to them. Just a little bit more detail. Or you could set it as an option. For those who wants a pro mode or more details, then allow them to turn it on. For those of you who are getting the Sonos Roam, then this is the version that you need. For those of you who are not getting the Sonos Roam, update it as and when you want to, or if you're going to be changing a Wi-Fi password. Otherwise, enjoy, and I'll see you in my next video.